Good morning. Time for daily game design. Uh, what's funny is like exactly the same tune. So I've never had perfect pitch, but I've had decent relative pitch. That doesn't get me where I'm trying to go here. But I think my little jingle is mapped. I'm probably not like dead on every time, but so I think it's consistent. Like I hear the same tone. Um, I'm starting to hear the same tone every morning, so I I think it's settling in. Down daily game design. It feels like that's the I think that's the. It's close to what is it? Windows shutting down or something like that. What is that? Dun, da, 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 da. I'm close to hearing it. I'm embarrassed to say I will not figure it out right now, but yeah, trying is not going to get me there either. So I stayed up late. I got in that kind of like work binge mode where I wanted to have a TTS mod ready for this morning. And I was so close. I was so close. And it was like 11:30, almost midnight. And I finally stopped. I finally gave up when I hit this roadblock. So what I've been using is Figma. This is when I have a lot of cards to populate systematically. Well, I guess I should say I have a lot of cards to populate and generally to populate systematically. Because what I have is a spreadsheet, and what I have is a spreadsheet. What I did was get Gemini to produce a spreadsheet with the data that I would need to be able to import into Figma. So what Figma is this like layout kind of graphic design tool. I don't really know what sets it apart. I'm not a graphic designer, but it does some smart stuff that I never really use and that I don't understand. The main thing I have used is the ability to populate cards from a spreadsheet, and not just with text but also with images. So you see a zoomed out version of this, and it's nothing fancy. I'm sure there are lots of ways we would want to change the layout of these cards, but here are the challenge cards. Again, I'm not committed in any way to the way these are laid out, these icons, how they're set up, but all I had to do was make 7 squares, and then there's a little auto layout feature, so it just made it centered them, made them look a little bit nicer, and then label them appropriately. So here is the kind of the master. This is called a component, I believe. Yeah, where is it? Yeah, this is a component. So I took a rectangle, made it the right shape, and then of the right dimensions, made it a component, and from there you can create all these other components. They're not called components, but these other objects that reference that main component, and then whatever is in the main component shows up in this other object. But then with the spreadsheet, you can come in, as long as the images and the spreadsheet is as long as the images are included with a zip file, and they're in the same zip file as the spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet has the right text, then it'll just drop all the images into the cards, or onto the cards. So I was getting really close, and then I actually have cards. I'll show you how far I got. So I had the yeah, I basically had what I needed, or close to what I thought I needed for TTS, and I'll show you that now. Okay, so I just made a simple background, but this is when I realized I was creating some problems for myself. So the challenge cards were separate. I exported them separately from Figma, and so here they are. And I made these little card backs, really simple card backs. And then as I was making decisions about the oh, maybe they're all not. Wait a minute. Maybe they're all okay except for okay, so at first I put all of the cards into this. This is the deck editor for TTS. So what happens is you drop the images here. It saves it a certain way, and I can show you the image it creates when you save it. So I'll show you what I was doing originally, which was the mistake. I've done this before too. I guess I just haven't done many like really card heavy prototypes in TTS in a while. So at first I made this deck with all of the cards. The problem is there are 92 cards and there are only 7 spaces. Actually, there are only 69 because TTS, the deck editor here, wants you to have the card back in the bottom corner, I believe. Okay, so I dropped everything in here and I moved because I just thinking, oh, this will be easy. Then I moved everything into TTS. The way to do that is by going to Objects, Components, Custom. You can make a custom deck. You just drop that in there. And then you go and find the files you made. So I can choose the face. And here's what the image looks like. No, not that. Just one example. So it actually exports it as one image. Okay, so it takes exactly what this layout is and just saves them. It saves it all in one image. Then what happens? Actually, I can do it right now. I'll do teacher. So open teacher. And then choose a card back. And this was the problem. This is the thing I forgot. That the decks, in order to have separate card backs, they actually need to be imported separately. In other words, it wasn't going to work for me to create what if I remember right, and I didn't test this, but it was getting late. I didn't want to test it. But if I remember right, so here are 53 cards. So it dropped in 50. What? That's not right. There are only 23 cards in this deck. Anyway, if I were to split the deck, for example, so it dropped in the teacher, builder, etc. It had all the cards together and you could split them. And then if I wanted to give each stack of cards its own separate card back, then all the faces will get messed up. Because remember, it's referencing that image where all of the cards get included. And if I were to, I'm pretty sure if I were to try to change the card back, that it would mess up the card faces, like they would get confused. But that's not what the real problem was. So that's easy to do. It just takes some extra steps. You just make, like I was doing here, just make the smaller sets. You don't need them all in one place. It's more steps. It's not my favorite thing. But that's when I realized that Builder has only 22 cards. First Responder, Doctor, and Teacher have 23. So I know the right number, at least with what Gemini made, the right number is 23 cards per deck. And then I thought, what happened with Builder here? What card is missing? So that's when I went back to Figma and I started like kind of double checking stuff. So these are the decks here. And then in the spreadsheet, I checked the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet shows that each deck is meant to have these one icon cards. There's supposed to be 4 in each deck. So that stands out, right? That's what you see with these 4 boxes. This empty space. It means that that this particular card has only one icon. It has water, food, etc. And it has no second icon like these, food and tools. So then I went back to Figma and realized that it's only First Responder has these cards with 4 icons. All the rest have cards, these 4 cards with 1 icon. Then all the other decks have 3 cards with 1 icon. And I was just getting really confused. What happened? Then what I think I realized, and this is just me coming to a sad ending here in a second. Then what I realized is it's possible, like if I look at this component, and in the frame there are icons 1 and 2. And what I think happened was that icon 2 was on the left, icon 1 was on the right. And I think somehow what that did was get things to come out here in the wrong order. I haven't really figured it out exactly, but I think there was some weird cascade effect by having those in the wrong order. The problem now is I have this tool. This is the tool for syncing things from a spreadsheet. It literally ran out of a free trial that I'd had for like years. I think the free trial thing was maybe there's like an error or something, and it just worked for years. It literally counted down and ran out just as I was right before I was about to sync this after I fixed the 1 and 2 icon thing. It literally ran out of its free trial. After years of saying I only had 13 uses left or something, when I opened this, I saw I had 5 uses. And so I synced it a few times because I had to, sync it once or twice to get the icons right over here. Sync it a couple times to get the icons right over here. Anyway. So now I don't have a really efficient tool for doing this. So now I kind of have what I need. The icons are not going to be quite right. The card count is not going to be quite right. So that's like irritating to me. That it's not it's so easy to do. It's within reach, and I think I solved the problem. But now I have to go pay for this tool if I want to use it, and I'm not convinced I want to use it. So maybe there's something else I can do. I know. Actually, you know what? I never really figured out how to drop spreadsheet stuff into jailbreak. Joe's doing all this influencer stuff where he's doing all these like reels about how you can learn something about faith or God or Christianity or something by thinking about games. I think about that kind of stuff too, but I just notice Joe's really going for it with the reels. Okay, so I'm just kind of disappointed that right at the end of the process, I have something that it looks like it's what we talked about, but it's just not correct. Well, anyway, I think I'm really like if all the cards, if all the icons were right, I think I'd be pretty happy with this simple prototype. Of course, the one thing I need to do is add the HQ card, but I can set it up as if the cards are correct. But then I probably would want to go and separate the decks correctly. So the challenge cards, these would come out. Yeah, I need to go create the HQ card, actually. And I was wondering, I didn't have a great plan for making that card. Just probably put a simple building on this. I think like I had on that other Canva sheet. Well, but this was the goal. The goal here was to get a TTS prototype, a TTS mod, and I was right there, right on the edge. But I can at least have the rest of the components. I can have the components ready-ish. And I'll go have a look at Dexterous. I just never figured out the spreadsheet part of Dexterous. I think I can, but I don't know why it's not intuitive. Dexterous does weird stuff, in my view. Like there are just some, like it's set up oddly. I'm not saying I could do any better, but it is an odd. Yeah, I'll open it and I'll see if I can figure out how to get the spreadsheet stuff to work. Because it would be great to have a playable prototype with the icons as they're meant to be within the next 40 minutes. that would be great. What? Commercial building? Yeah, I think let's try this again. All I'm trying to do here is pick an office building looking building and then put the logo right on the building. This actually looks kind of cool. I don't think it's great, but it looks kind of cool. Where was that other one? A little more detail than this would be nice, than this gray, light gray, dark gray one. A little more surface area than this colorful one. What does that say? This decision doesn't mean anything at all, but I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I spend extra time on this kind of thing. Because that one was totally fine. Actually, a bunch of these are totally fine. That's a little weird that it has like some fuzziness. What is it, like kind of oh, what's that material on stucco? Maybe this is it. Is it the same? That's fine. Who cares? I guess it's also helpful that it is tall and skinny. And then let me get a little background. Probably put this in an oval or on a like a sign shaped thing. So maybe like this guy. Yeah, all I'm doing is making the sign for the building here. ADRA HQ. They have an HQ. I can't think of. I'm not sure where it is. It might be in Maryland. It probably is in Maryland, but could be. Actually, they're working with. Yeah, I think they're working with a partner for printing in Maryland, so maybe it makes sense that they're there. Do a little outline. So this is the card that's going to be spinning. I'm just going to drop this right here in the middle. Boom, ADRA HQ. It looks a little bit goofy, but we'll be fine. These rounded corners are not great. I think it makes sense to center. Why is that showing like that? That broken image. Okay, and then the other thing is to it's funny like that this kind of thing, I'm not a graphic designer at all, but this kind of thing like bothers me a little bit where it's centered in terms of the windows, but it's not centered in terms of the yellow. But I need to just get over that, right? For now, let's drop in an arrow. It's kind of cool that it's like smart enough to pick up the dominant color on the sheet or on the canvas. So this is the focus card, the HQ card. Oh, I guess I need a card back that's different here, but I don't need it right now. I can just export this, the current page. I actually like this side, like this part of game design. I like the graphic design stuff, or at least I like thinking about how to make something understandable and kind of slightly attractive, like something better than a super dirty prototype, but nothing like but I don't have like professional skills, so I'm definitely not going to take a game's graphic design over the finish line. But I still like thinking about this stuff. It's still fun to me to think like what's a nice way to communicate this, like choosing icons and stuff like that. Oh, the other thing I thought was kind of cool is that Gemini just made these icons. They're weird. They're a little bit weird because like, okay, we have a W, we have an F, we have a T, tent for shelter. There's an S for seedling, so I guess that's why it didn't go with shelter. And then there is a T for tent. So it's like this knock-on effect. So it couldn't do S for shelter because it already had seedling. Or maybe that's the reasoning this thing went through. And because there's a T here, then instead of tools, they went with livelihood. So there's an L. But still, like, Gemini just made these. They're a little bit strange too because of the way the backgrounds look. But Canva just let me do a little, like, the quick background remover. And I just dropped these in and they're fine. They definitely work as icons. So like tent would probably be pretty different. Food is it best to be an apple? Maybe it's fine. Why is the B over here on the right side of the book? I have no idea. But in this case, like I actually don't mind the aesthetic here of these seven icons like spread out around the as a simple card back. I think so, Seth. I think the checkered background is what Gemini thinks alpha is. So it actually comes with the background. Let me see, actually. Maybe not. Oh, I think I deleted them. Where did I don't remember where my trash is. No, but like when I downloaded it, it actually shows the little squares. So then I just in Canva I remove the background to actually create that the alpha stuff. I don't know exactly what you mean. I know what you mean in that the shape is not important for a PNG, but it's that I mean this it's not a square. It's like whatever the image actually is. Yeah, transparency. You're right. Yeah. Also, I like this one is funny to me. It's got just one corner of the checkered stuff. It also didn't put its own logo icon on everything. Maybe it did, but it's the wrong color. Maybe it just blends in. I don't think it did. It put in its little, like, the little star thing on one... Well, anytime that it's a black background. Yeah, well, that's what I did here, is I just exported everything. Maybe I didn't. I think I did with transparent background, but it didn't really matter, I guess, because I'm just putting the icons on cards with white background anyway. Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with running out of that free trial just as I was about to finish this thing. That's the dumbest thing ever. But I do want to go into Dexterous and see. Oh wait, well, did I actually export that card? Yes, I did. So I was gonna make a card here. So just make the ADRA HQ card really quick. create a component, and it has the image, like here it shows that it has the image. Oh. See, there's some of this, like some of the logic here I don't really get, and I think I'm misunderstood. Because I made all of these copies of each other and then made them all components, now it has this whole, yeah, that's how they get you. Well, but what I was saying earlier is that I've had the trial mode for like years, and it was frozen on 11 or 13 for years. And it was supposed to be like for each use, it's gonna tick down one, and I used it a lot. But I think somehow it was just frozen, or just it wasn't, there wasn't some kind of error in the background somewhere, so I just used it indefinitely, and then it ticked down last night as I was making this prototype, and I ran out just as I was catching an error, and I needed to like refresh the icons or like resync them, and then I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So my prototype is messed up, and I need to figure out another way to make the cards. It was very disappointing. But yeah, that's how they get you. Oh, I guess what I want to do here is, yeah, I don't really understand the relationship between components. That's a weakness here for me with Figma. So some of this stuff is kind of locked. I know I can delete it. Like this, I should be able to I can just delete it, but it still exists. For some reason, it's like still there. And I don't really know why. But I just work around it. I just leave all this junk and work around it. Like I can't just delete all that. Well, I guess I don't want to. Yeah, because it's all like super... Well, I guess, what if I can detach instance? Did that help? I don't think so. Seth, I'm curious. Well, I'm going to be sending out a survey as soon as I know the dates for the next retreat. It should be Easter weekend in April. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, or just like a quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Did we meet your expectations? Did you have the experience you were hoping to have? Did we miss the target somehow? Still a big weakness that it's there you go. Got pretty much what I expected. Hopefully a nice time in a beautiful place. And food that didn't make you sick, or or that wasn't repulsive. Good food, decent food. Yeah, the food is a challenge every time. I can't give up on it. Oh, that's great. I'm really glad. It's cool to see Yami around, like when you guys are playing RPGs and stuff, and I love that she comes up and hangs out. Because you guys played Foundations of Rome, I think, right? I don't remember what else you played. Yeah, I wonder if it's possible for me to just copy this rectangle and make it something other than... Oh, yeah, then what am I doing here? What else do I need? Yeah, so I don't need this component anymore. I'm just going to make this a component. And then drop the image in. And Good. Breakfast and dinner. Yeah, Mario did a great job the last couple retreats. He's complicated just because, I mean, it's weird to present a person as complicated in the way that I'm doing right now, but he's a little tricky because he doesn't cook meat, so we always need somebody to partner with him, and that worked well when we had my friend Melissa cook, because she was here temporarily. She jumped in, had a great time. It worked with Lanita. She did a really nice job too last time, but it was tricky because she prepped and was expecting to just enjoy playing, and then things changed that weekend, and he double booked himself. And anyway, this time, even though I really like what Mario does a lot, and he takes care of a lot too. Like, the food is good, but then he also is great with managing the shopping and returns and stuff like that, and the kitchen cleanup. He's like really, really good with all that stuff. We lost him to a big event that was happening on the same weekend. And then I went into, this was like a month and a half before the retreat probably. And then I went into scramble mode. Talked with my Uncle Will. It takes time for people to decide and figure out, what their schedule's going to be like and all that. So he took a while to get back to me, and then eventually he wasn't going to be able to do it. I mean, we learned he wasn't going to be able to do it, and then another one was Ian. Ian was on board, and then he learned that he was going on a college tour with his daughter and their whole family. And then Kaleo was going to do it, but Kaleo needed to bring up his dogs in order to be able to stay over and manage, and he also couldn't do Friday. So you can see just so many things made it more complicated. Anyway, Mario had commented that Jessica did a nice job helping to prep last time. Seemed very capable, so I reached out to her, and I had been messaging her like since the last retreat a little bit, just because they had such a hard time with housing. Like, their tent blew down twice, like got wrecked twice, so they had very little sleep, her and Alan Sam. And so I messaged to see if I could help with anything or smooth things over, and just kind of check and see how they did in general. And then anyway, never heard back. And then it turns out that she just never got my messages. I was messaging through my Square, like the website app stuff, and for some reason the stuff on her, like the security stuff or like the spam stuff or her notifications or whatever it was, like her settings just made it so that she never got my messages. So I thought, wow, she's not coming back, she's not interested, it wasn't a good experience. But she apparently did have a nice time, and she was fine. And it was just like a communication problem. So anyway, when we finally got a hold of her again, then the pieces started coming together. She was able to come and cook and manage some of that stuff. And I think she did a nice job. There was a learning curve with the kitchen and also with the scale. I think she's done a lot of cooking, but it was for a new group, and the parameters I placed, I think, made it kind of difficult to pick stuff. The financial limitations I asked her to deal with. Oh, wait, I think I just exported a few times. Yeah. It's just tricky. Where did I just deleted the actual card? Yeah. Oh, I can see original location, date deleted. Oh no. No. Yeah, they downloaded. Okay, what was I? Yeah, so I can just make this. Oh, I just um, like undo actually worked there just then. But I only need one of these. So I can definitely add this to TTS. That's no problem. Oh, it doesn't like custom here. Well, anyway, it took us a while to get going with the kitchen, and it was awesome that people jumped in and helped out. That's the amazing part to me, is that, you know, we have the people who, like, everybody's willing. Actually, Seth, I think I have a little video of you serving or whatever, because that's a huge deal. Like, we are a really small group. I feel like we don't have a lot of capability yet to really to have a volunteer system like some of the bigger events like the cons and stuff. But I also am hesitant to. I was talking about this with some of the folks at Armchair. There's a card back. I wonder what this is gonna do. It's probably gonna stretch it. Yeah. Whatever. That's fine. I guess we want to do 90 degrees here. This is awesome. Yeah, we're talking at Armchair, and a volunteer program like with first of all, the baseline is that we have just people who like to take a little break. They like to jump into the kitchen. It feels good to help. It feels good to participate, right? Even though you know that you've invested in the weekend financially, for many people it's still a nice thing to do to be able to serve. And I think we have those kind of people, and it feels good to be helpful. So it's awesome that we have opportunities like that. I mean, would it be awesome if we had, if we had our white gloved crew that was just kind of around and doing everything for everybody all the time? That would be kind of nice. But it's also cool that we have a kind of family atmosphere where it's very useful to us when people are generous enough to pitch in. Like, that's just a big deal. It goes a long way. All the little things people do to contribute. But anyway, one of the things like I don't want to do, and I think it would actually damage our culture, is to have a system where, okay, you put in your 6 hours for today, or you did your 4 demos, here's your reward, here's the, now go have fun. Like, that works for the bigger cons, I think, because they actually need to put those incentives in place. So it's to get those commitments, I guess, because they're running something big. It needs a lot of structure. They want to have a lot of events going on, and they would have things organically happening, but that's not enough. That's not exactly enough to keep. Yeah, that's not enough to keep the event going. For us, however, we don't need a lot of stuff going on. It's nice that we can offer some value with what we can offer in the schedule, but for the most part, I think most people are very happy to come with their own games, having made some plans with other people, and then they just enjoy playing games or going outside for a little while. Like, for the most part, they manage themselves, and that's the beauty of the event. I mean, that's intentional. We don't want to micromanage. We don't want to over plan for people and then expect them, to abandon their own plans. So we just have options available if somebody's new if we have something to offer that is that most people don't have available, um, and then so that's like if if somebody is new to the scene and they don't have their little friend group, and or maybe everybody's grouped up already, and there might be a few of these people like aimlessly wandering around, and then we can gather them at a sign up sheet, and they can enjoy a game when they have no other options. There is the fact that now we're able to start getting some donations. Like we had two games from indie designers this time, and one unfortunately is on the way still. I think it's being delivered tomorrow. Okay, I can at least set this up as if we were playing. So I'm just going to gather some cards here. These are not what they would be normally, but I'm just doing it as like a visual. So again, like why? Just continuing that thought. Why do we organize things? Why do we feel the need to have some structure, have a schedule? So it's about having opportunities for people who don't have friends there yet, people who are still kind of getting used to the setting, or it's just everybody else is busy. Being able to offer things that that most people don't have access to, like these indie games. And that also includes like people who bring special stuff, like Stefan hosted Luthier, and I was really looking forward to Luthier. I didn't, and I wouldn't have backed it, just because I'm not trying to spend the money it takes to get the deluxe copies. But he did. Stefan did. He was generous in that way. He has a game he wanted to share with people. It was a cool game, so he hosted it. Was excited to do it, and so to make that available is a really cool thing. The other is it like perceived value? Maybe, but for people to drive all the way out to Waianae, it makes sense to me that they want to be confident that something is going on. so even if that means, yeah, see, like these are meaningless numbers here in these decks, but I'm just doing it to like represent what it would look like, what it would be like for the actual game. So we do these 3 cards each. Okay, let me see what you've got there, Seth. I'm just finishing this little setup here. Okay, and then I think we would probably do this. And these would be sent back to the box. Okay, so this is basically what the game would look like on the table. So you have your deck, you have your little hand of cards. Okay, the matchmaking issue. If you had a volunteer who was tasked to sit at a table with a game that was quick, variable players, and jump in, jump out, then people who don't have a game go there, play that. Then when they have enough for another game, they split off and play that. So what's kind of cool is that even if we didn't plan it, but I thought that was a really neat thing that the guys had going in the corner. They were there on Sunday. So okay, so I think this actually fits your description. Now, this is not a style of game that everybody enjoys, but there were the Mishi's Toy Box guys. Darren and Derek came up on Sunday, and they set up a scenario um, in the corner of the room where they had a couple tables. They laid out this scene where there were the Japanese up in bunkers or something, and then the Americans were coming for an assault. And what they offered then was for players to like jump in. They would describe the situation. They would talk about a few options. Then the players, these people that showed up at the table, then they roll a couple dice. They make a couple decisions, roll a couple dice, and then advance the American position. And then Derek was playing as the Japanese, and he would respond. So even though players they weren't really aware of the full scope of the situation, they had something to do between games. But or for a moment when it wasn't their turn, they'd run over, take a turn for the Americans. And so it offered something similar to what you're describing, or maybe it's almost exactly what you're describing. Like, here's something to do while you're waiting around for something else. I also think that, I know that you weren't super enthusiastic about the buffer guys stuff after the first time, but that's another thing that is available if people are they're in break mode. But yeah, I like that idea. I'm gonna write it down somewhere. Hang on. Yeah, we're already thinking through some options, or just ideas, like taking feedback. And so the thing is, though, I guess the tricky bit is having somebody committed, right? Like having a person actually running stuff like that sounds like a kind of an intense commitment. Even if you had somebody like tap in, tap out. Have an ongoing filler game. I think another thing that would be cool is like, something that you can work on that's like co-created during the weekend, and it could be some random like art project. Maybe you're all collectively painting something or building something, or you're adding to a scene. I'm just for example, I'm thinking of like if there was just a huge thing of Legos and you just went over and like you added some vehicle, or you built a helicopter, or you added a building to to like the scene, and then maybe at the end there's actually a game there, and you can or maybe it's an RPG for the end. Yeah, I think this time, I know we had Zach announce a little bit. I think it was Saturday morning, but we definitely could have brought that up more as an option, just to remind people that they're sitting right out there, because they played more games this time. I think partly because have more regular reminders for buffer LARPing between games. And that's what worked. Like organically it worked. The first time that Zach came out, I don't know exactly why, but there would be these little contingents that would go out, play a game, and Zach got like kind of excited, like as if the group would be like really, really into it, and that was kind of short lived. So he wanted to almost like over plan for everybody, and that just didn't work out. You know, he was like saying, "Oh, we're gonna be running this game at this time," and it just did not mesh with how the tabletop gaming was going. Anyway, cool thoughts though. For sure, this is stuff that we can either in like the messaging, or in just planning and getting little commitments from people. I think these are the kind of features that I think are really important. Do you have something to do while you're waiting for a game to finish, or if you don't know anybody or you're not comfortable like approaching a table, where do you go? What do you do to like get your foot in the door socially? What can you do? And I think that is a thing. Like I talked to several people, and I think we're a hobby well known for its introversion. And so even though I'm not trying to force people to do things they don't want to do, but if we can give them opportunities that they're comfortable with that help to establish those connections, I think that to me feels like our responsibility. It'd be great if everybody was just like a Shanti. I'm sad Shanti didn't come up this weekend, but this past weekend she'd signed up. She was ready to, and there's her friend Alex, and there were several people who didn't come, and for various reasons. And I think maybe she messaged, she wanted to ride up, and then she wanted to go to church, and it was just kind of like, Shanti, this is just not gonna happen. So that was a bummer. But Shanti is very, very outgoing, great at connecting with people. But I know that's not. I feel like that is not the norm for our hobby and for our community. And so, creating very low stakes opportunities, I think, is really important to what we do. If the goal is, and my goal is, to build, for people to build relationships, to get to know each other, and for those friendships to even extend beyond gaming. I think that's a cool thing, and that's one of my main reasons for doing what I'm doing, for doing what we're doing, is so that people have a place to go, people to call on if they need it. Loneliness and exclusion are real things, and I'm not cool with those things. So again, not trying to force anybody to do stuff they're not comfortable with, but as long as we have, we're intentional about with the structure of our weekends and of our events. If we're somehow intentional about the opportunities, I think that's the minimum. It even comes down to wearing a name tag. Yeah, you register at the door at the Hawaii Board Game Retreat, you're getting a name tag. Even though it's a dumb little envelope label, I need to get some other name tags. I think somebody ruined their shirt because water got on her shirt, and it like got onto the label, and the glue already was like weird. Yeah. Don't know how much the barrier is extrovert introvert, as much as we know that board games have a start and stop, and it's impossible to add a person in the middle. Yeah, right. There's the natural flow of a game, and the unfortunate, but it's the double-edged sword of a player count limit. But I know for a fact that, and partly because I was messaging with somebody last night, people self-identify as introverts, and they're not yeah, they're not necessarily going to be the ones that reach out early and try to get involved in a game or invite somebody into a game. They're just not going to do that. So, um, so yeah, it's hard to say like what the breakdown is. We couldn't. I don't think we can guess it. The percentage of instances where this is a personality thing versus a logistics thing, I don't think we can. I don't think we can really find that number. But if it is, if it any of it is actually a fear or personality or a social thing, we can do something about that. And also, as you point out, even if it's a logistics thing, we can do something about that by choosing games or events or ways to interact that are not limited in the same way that that a typical hobby game is. Anyway, cool thoughts. I have a meeting with a student in about 10 minutes, so I'm going to jump away and have a quick breakfast, get ready for that. But appreciate you, Seth, and hope to see you soon. And anyway, anybody else who joined, thanks for being here. We made some progress. Got a dirty prototype on the table here. It's not the real thing, but it represents the real thing. So I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think I'm actually going to screenshot this and show it to my ADRA friend. So I'll do that real quick, and then I'm gonna head out. All right. See you soon.